Bonnie is a hurricane once again. It's already killed 2 people in the Carolinas, and it's been pounding southeast Virginia from offshore since last night, with torrential rain and wind gusting as high as 60 miles an hour. The storm is also expected to bring heavy rain and high winds to parts of the Northeast before it's all over. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Bruce Edwards, here in the Forecast Center, as we continue to watch Bonnie, which has gone well, up and down the scale. Yesterday at about 11 a.m. in the morning, Bonnie was downgraded to a tropical storm as it sat over eastern North Carolina, and then it began to slip on offshore back over the ocean waters last night. And about 11 p.m., the National Hurricane Center again upgraded Bonnie to a hurricane. Here's the latest infrared satellite picture of Bonnie and the attending cloud cover streaming off towards the east-northeast. The 5 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center has Bonnie centered at 36.5 degrees north, 74.7 degrees west, or 110 miles south-southeast of Wallops Island, Virginia. Maximum sustained winds, minimal hurricane force at 75 miles per hour, and it continues to move in a northeasterly direction at 8 miles per hour. Now, there are no hurricane warnings or watches posted, but there are tropical storm warnings from Ocracoke, North Carolina, extending north all the way up to Cape Cod and Plymouth, Massachusetts, and that includes Long Island Sound, and the Jersey Shore. Flash flood watches have been posted over southern New Jersey, into much of Delaware and extreme southeastern Maryland. The wind and rain will still ravage parts of the coastline and get a little squally throughout the course of the day today. Now, yesterday was North Carolina's day, so to speak, as Bonnie was on shore, and then today, well, it's going to be, it has been so far, Virginia's day to receive the majority of the impact from Hurricane Bonnie. Widespread power outages being reported around southeastern Virginia. Many trees were downed and uprooted just from the soggy soil and the winds just pushing them over. Coastal and tidal flooding being reported, and some homes and apartment buildings were reported damaged by the winds, with some shingles off and even some roofs impacted. We have on the phone with us right now James Talbot, who's the Deputy Director for Emergency Services in Norfolk, Virginia. And Mr. Talbot, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Now that you've had a little bit of sunlight to take a peek around the city, what kind of damage has Norfolk sustained overnight?
Well, good morning, Bruce. We have had the chance to assess the damage a little bit. We have widespread power outages within the city. About 61,000 residents are still without power. We have a lot of streets that are still blocked with downed trees. We estimate about 250 trees were brought down overnight. We took a pretty good pounding. We had about 4 to 6 hours of strong tropical force winds, and with it, it brought about 3¼ inches of rainfall. So we had a pretty prolonged period of heavy wind velocities.
Now, you reported that 61,000 people still without power. Is there any timetable as to when they might expect the power to be restored throughout the region?
Actually, the power company is telling us an estimated 2 to 3 days. Now, the 61,000 is just in the city of Norfolk, and our neighboring cities, particularly Virginia Beach, the region, we're estimating about 264,000 are out of power. We're looking at potentially sometime Sunday or Monday before we get total power back.
What about flooding? The winds, as you mentioned, were pretty brisk. Any kind of flooding near the coastal region?
We had a maximum water level of 5.8 or 5 feet 8 inches. Back in February, we had a bad nor'easter here that brought in 7.1. So luckily, this one was about 1.5 feet under that. 5.8 gives us some minor to moderate flooding, but we didn't experience the severe flooding that we had in the February nor'easter, and we were using that as a benchmark. So we were pretty fortunate as far as the flooding.
Mr. Talbot, we heard reports that a couple of cargo ships that were docked at the port, some of the cables gave way during the storm last night and they broke loose. What's the situation with that?
Well, we have a large international terminals. It's adjacent to the Norfolk ship or Norfolk Naval Shipyard. We had 2 ships. One actually broke loose and went out into the channel. The second ship, a large cargo ship, was being held by one line. They were fortunate enough to get them under control, but for a time we were worried that that one or even both of the ships were going to break into the channels. Now, this area has bridges and tunnels, particularly the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, which is one of our main evacuation routes from the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area toward central Virginia. and had those ships gotten out of control, there would have been some potential danger there of impacting that bridge and the evacuation route. So it was really critical, but luckily they did get them under control.
That's terrific news. Thank you. James Talbot, who's the Deputy Director, or Director of Coordinator for Emergency Services in Norfolk, Virginia, for that report. We now bring in Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert. And Dr. Lyons, I understand you got the latest information from the Hurricane Center, the latest advisory.
That's right. 8 a.m. we have it located at 36.9 north, 74.5 west, or about 90 miles southeast of Wallops Island, Virginia. And the hurricane hunters, that's the Air Force reservists, are out there, and they pinpointed that center location very accurately.
Okay.
Winds are still hurricane force, and they measured flight level winds of about 85 miles per hour on the east side, well away from the coast.
Take a look at the radar out of Norfolk, Virginia right now, and it seems like Elizabeth City and out to the Outer Banks are still catching some, but it looks like the rain's easing up a bit in Norfolk right now.
Most of the rain, really, the strongest rain is up in here right now, and that doesn't seem to be affecting the coast. The circulation center is here, and it's generally moving off to the northeast. The strongest wind is out in here somewhere, even farther out than that.
Alrighty, we look at the expanded view to the north of the center of Bonnie, and we can see a few bands of rain south of Long Island.
That is correct. Here's the primary band just north and a couple of others coming up. This is mostly ground clutter up in here, very light raindrops falling out of the clouds that may not even be hitting the ground.
Situated out on Long Island, at Long Beach, Long Island, the Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is ready for action here. Mike, I see the hair looks like it's a little fluffier this go-round. The wind's kicking up a bit more?
A little bit more, Bruce. I could have used a little extra mousse this morning on the hair, but pretty good morning here, South Shore, Long Island. We're all waiting the effects of Hurricane Bonnie, but it's going to be late this afternoon and more likely this evening and overnight before we see any of the real significant rainfall and wind here. And if you're on the eastern tip of Long Island, you have a much better chance of being impacted by Bonnie than in Midtown in the city, or certainly out in Westchester or Rockland counties up through the Hudson Valley. In fact, there you may not see any rain at all. Of course, this forecast is very dependent on the exact track of Bonnie. We'll keep you posted throughout the day, but again, should be a pretty nice day. Clouds increasing, a few showers around, but the more significant rainfall and wind arrives tonight. Surf right now running about 4 to 6 feet, and we've seen some surfers out there this morning taking advantage of this swell being kicked up by the hurricane. We'll keep you updated. Bruce, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Mike Seidel, reporting live from Long Beach, New York, on Long Island this morning. Well, another system we're watching with very close scrutiny is another hurricane, Hurricane Danielle.
That is correct. Danielle has been moving on basically a west-northwest track the last few days. It's slowed down a little bit, now moving at about 17 miles per hour. And you can see it on the satellite imagery here, the circulation center somewhere in here. The good thing is that it is under a almost unidirectional wind flow. The surface flow and the upper level flow is almost the same. So we expect that to continue on a west-north track so that in 72 hours it's generally somewhere in that general circle there, and it will pose some threat to the southeastern U.S. there, so you need to monitor the Weather Channel for the latest updates on Danielle.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steve Lyons, and we will keep you updated on the situation, and we thank you for joining us this morning. We'll continue with the updates on the half hour, and remind you can check on the situation anytime at weather.com. And now Weather Will Annan has a look at your TGIF forecast all across the country. Will?
Thanks a lot, Bruce. Once again, this Weather Center is sponsored by Pontiac. Let's talk about, once again, the rainfall around Chicago. We've got a sharp front beginning to move through the middle part of the country, of course, dealing with Bonnie along the East Coast. But looks like the rainfall again throughout the middle part of the country begins to pick up. It's been a weird morning already right around Chicago. A real hairy rush hour for sure with some heavier rainfall. That's beginning to spread its way towards the southeast. Could be some stronger storms today from Indianapolis, Indiana, Springfield, Illinois, back to Springfield, Missouri, and approaching Oklahoma City as well. And once again, we can show you what's happening around Chicago this morning. We'll pick up the latest radar, and there it is. And you can see the rainfall in Chicago, heaviest about an hour ago. And once again, it looks like the bulk of the rainfall spreading southeastbound. And there's going to be Tropical Storm Bonnie, still dealing with that by later on tonight and also by early morning tomorrow. Well, telecommunications for the Weather Channel's live reports are sponsored in part by Bell South. And coming up, Bonnie may soon be affecting travel in parts of the Northeast.
With a certificate of authenticity and full color book. Call now and you'll also get these full function binoculars, complete with high-powered optics, absolutely free. Order now.
To order your Singing Bird clock for only $19.99 plus shipping, call 1-800-527-2112. This exclusive offer is not available in stores, so call now. Sorry, no CODs.
You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station or newspaper. Our experts are tracking Bonnie as it regains hurricane status and heads toward the northeast. For continuous live updates, watch Weather Center on the hour and half hour.
If you're thinking about satellite TV, there's something you might not know. After you pay for the dish and the receiver and the installation, there's still one more thing you'll need: programming. Let's face it, the shows you want to watch, that's what television's all about. With satellite TV, you may need to sign up with several different programming suppliers just to get the same top-rated channels you're enjoying now with Comcast, and that could actually cost you more. Think about it.
If you're considering satellite TV, you might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with.
So you're all set to order a great new movie on Comcast Home Theater pay-per-view. Well, here's two things to remember. One, you've got to have an addressable converter box, and two, your home phone number has to be listed in our files. So call us and make sure we have your correct home phone number. Then you're all set to order pay-per-view. You've got hit movies and big events that you can order toll-free. Just check out the schedule on the Comcast Home Theater Previews channel. Comcast Home Theater pay-per-view. You've got it, because you've got Comcast.
Unexpected weather can really mess up your day, and preparing people for it is our business. Business is good.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
This edition of Storm Watch, the Tropical Update, is sponsored by Home Depot. The latest advisory as of 8 o'clock this morning now from the National Hurricane Center on Hurricane Bonnie, with winds of 75 miles an hour, so it is still a hurricane. Actually, it was upgraded back to a hurricane yesterday evening after being downgraded to a tropical storm once it came ashore yesterday afternoon, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. But as it started to re-emerge back over open waters, it strengthened a little bit, and it was upgraded by the National Hurricane Center at 11 o'clock last night back to a hurricane, and it is still a hurricane with 75-mile-an-hour winds. It's moving northeast at 8 miles an hour, so it's moving back over open waters, but this time we think it will start to move into cooler waters, and it should be downgraded back to a tropical storm later today. Nevertheless, we'll be battering the coast here along the Jersey Shore up to the Long Island Sound, the Massachusetts Cape Cod area. Tropical storm warnings remain in effect because this system will hug the coast for some time anyway, all day today, we think, before it starts to move on out across the Atlantic. Now, we have had the center of the storm, the center of circulation right here, and we've had a few lighter showers pushing back along the southeast coast of Virginia, but Norfolk reporting overcast conditions right now opposed to the steady rain they had just the last 3 to 5 and 6 hours. We're seeing some moisture creep northward toward the Delaware coast. Dover reporting some wet weather right now. So this is Bonnie, but this is Danielle, and Danielle is moving west-northwest. We'll be getting closer to the lower 48.
This is Mike Seidel in Long Beach, New York. How will Hurricane Bonnie affect the Big Apple? We'll let you know coming up on Weather Center following your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
We have the how-to clinics where we show the customer how to do the project themselves.
After doing it for the first time, they feel a lot more comfortable with it.
They get involved, they get pumped, they take notes, they come to the Home Depot, they get the products, they're taught how to do it, and they go home and they